What's going on, everybody? It's LaMuerteBlanca, and we are back for another Borderlands 3 character build video. Last time around, we talked about Amara and her World Burn class, all about status effects and controlling the battlefield. This time, we're going to get up close and personal with our enemy with her Juggernaut class. If you were one of those that enjoyed playing Brick in Borderlands 1, you like running into groups of enemies yelling, or you like punching things in the face, yelling, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!" then this is going to be the class for you. It's all about dealing that melee damage, that up close and personal weapon damage, as well as keeping you alive while you're doing it. Before we get too deep into the classes, I do want to mention that this class does primarily settle around the phase slam. This first tier deals damage to all nearby enemies and knocks them up. We keep that until we get all the way down to downfall, which we will talk about in a second. And the nice thing about this class that I like personally is your attuned element can be whatever you want to play. So if you're going against a bunch of shielded enemies, you can keep the shock damage that you see here in the corner. However, you can also go corrosive if you're fighting a bunch of armored enemies, or even still if they don't have armor or shields, but they have a ton of health. Then the way this class has been built, you also have access to incendiary. You want to take out that enemy as quickly as possible. So being able to choose your element is definitely going to be huge in this particular situation. We start with clarity. Amara constantly regenerates health. The lower her health, the more powerful the regeneration. After using an action skill, this bonus is doubled for a few seconds. So the way I built out this class is, of course, we need to be able to have those necessary health buffs to keep ourselves alive. Basically tank out the situation. I built this in a sense where we're going to use our action skill, face slam in, and then we're going to have a series of buffs through melees or other means where we're going to be able to survive those confrontations, face slam again, rinse and repeat. So with this, we put 5 points in this because we need to get as much health regen as we can in order to help keep us alive. That then opens up the second tier where we went straight into Samsara. Whenever Amara deals damage to an enemy with her action skill, she adds a stack of Samsara. For every stack of Samsara, Amara gains increased gun damage and health regen for a few seconds. Stacks decay after a few seconds. Whenever we deal damage to an enemy with the action skill, meaning there's a mob of enemies, we face slam in on them, we're going to immediately build those stacks. And that, again, is going to stack on the health regeneration that we already have. Plus, it's going to help us get that gun damage. This only has 3 points, so in order to get 2 more, in order to unlock the next level, we went ahead with personal space, which is going to combo nicely with Samsara gun damage because personal space, Amara's weapon shots deal bonus damage based on the distance to her target. The closer the target, the greater the bonus. So we face slam in, get all those buffs and those bonuses between the health regen and the gun damage bonuses that we're getting, up to 36% if we're like point blank range, and then you start taking everybody out with the shotgun. Then after personal space, we come all the way back down here to find your center. Amara gains increased melee damage. Additionally, for a few seconds after using her action skill, Amara gains increased melee range. So this is perfect. Face slam in, hit him with the melee, which is now double the damage. And then after we hit him with the melee, we have the personal space buff that is going to then help with whatever shotgun or close range weapon that we're using at the time. This skill only has 1 point, so we decided to top off personal space, and then we went ahead and started adding points to Root to Rise. Amara gains increased max health. If you're going to play a Juggernaut character, you need to have a massive health pool, and this is definitely going to help that because by the time we finish this build, you will have a 40% increase to your overall max health, which is going to be huge. Plus all the health regen buffs that we already have. At this point, it's going to be kind of hard to kill your character. Once we get to this line, we're also unlocking the action skill effect that you will need for this particular class, which is Revelation. Amara's action skill now creates a Nova when it damages enemies, dealing damage to all nearby enemies. So yes, it lowers the action skill damage. However, that Nova is going to allow us to hit more enemies. By hitting more enemies, we are getting more stacks of Samsara. That buff will go a much longer way than it would if we didn't have the Nova and got that increased damage. Coming down to the next line is One with Nature. So Amara gains increased max health and elemental damage resistance to her action skill element. Again, more health. That is going to be huge for this Juggernaut class. On top of that, we're getting damage resistance, which again is going to be big based on the action skill element. So whatever you're fighting against, you can change your action skill element attunement to that damage type, and then you have a 40% damage reduction based on that element, keeping you alive longer so you can do more melee and up close damage, so you can get more face slams, basically play that Juggernaut role. That then leads us to Downfall, which is the actual action skill that we use once this build is complete. Amara leaps into the air and shoots an elemental beam below her briefly, followed by a slam. So instead of slamming and just knocking them up, we are doing more damage with the elemental beam, again, based on our tuned element, which can potentially deal even more damage. And then we slam down, continue to do our up close and personal gunfight, rinse, repeat. At some point, we're also going to need action skill points in Helping Hands. So for a few seconds after using her action skill, Amara's arms remain active and grant her damage reduction. Again, allowing you to stay alive longer while you're in the middle of the chaos of an up close and personal fight. This particular skill only has 3 points in it because I saved it toward later in the build. But I do think it is worth mentioning. If you are taking a lot of damage, then you might want to throw those points in here earlier. But again, something worth mentioning because any type of damage reduction, any type of increase to your health pool, that is going to be huge if you're going to tank it out with Amara. Then coming all the way down to Jab Cross, whenever Amara deals melee damage to an enemy, she gains increased action skill damage and increased gun damage for a few seconds. So this pairs perfectly with the combo that we have set for Amara. Face slam in, do your melee damage, and then once you do your melee damage, you're getting increased gun damage. That increased gun damage is a pairing with not only the Samsara, but also the personal space by being up close to that enemy. So if you have a really powerful shotgun, or maybe you want to rock an SMG that has a super high rate of fire, for those 10 seconds, you're going to be able to do that extreme 15% gun damage. Or if you find a way to do that melee first, then you can do your action skill, get that 75%, and then you get the buff to the melee and try to melee them again. The closer you are, the more damage you're going to do, which is what this build is all about. Coming over to Guardian Angel, you're going to be in a lot of fights and you're going to be taking a lot of damage with this particular build. So this is going to be your safety valve. When Amara enters Fight for Your Life, she immediately gains second win. So no need to try to shoot your way out of it. Immediately gets second win. Restores her health and creates an action skill element Nova that may knock back nearby enemies. This skill has a long cooldown. You gotta wait 2 minutes before you use it again. However, this is key because you're getting an elemental Nova, which is doing damage, can knock back enemies, which is gonna stagger them a little bit. You immediately get the second win, which is the key piece of this. So this is an absolute must. And you're also getting 100% of your health, not a fraction of it as if you got revived by a teammate. Then the capstone for the Brawl skill tree is Blitz. Melee override, press whatever button this corresponds to while aiming at an enemy to make Amara dash a short distance forward and perform a special melee strike, dealing elemental melee damage. If a Blitz melee attack kills an enemy, Blitz cooldown is immediately reset. I love this capstone skill if you are going for that Juggernaut melee type build. You kill an enemy, say you finish them off, or say it's a weak enemy with Blitz, you immediately get another Blitz. But worst case scenario, let's say you don't kill him with Blitz, it's an 8-second cooldown. But see, the thing is, you're probably going to be doing a lot of damage with Blitz because you already have all these melee damage buffs. On top of that, you don't have to be in their face already taking damage. You can do that melee dash in, hit them, then you get the boost to your action skill. And once you do that action skill, you start getting these stacks, which is going to help your gun damage. And you're already up close to them, so you're doing even more gun damage. See where I'm going with this? Plus you have the Nova, which is going to hit more people, which gives you more stacks. All of this is basically allowing you to run in there and yell, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," because you're going to be punching people in the face and not dying because you have all these health buffs that we already added. So how do we complement this melee build that we're going for on those other skill trees? Because we could, if we wanted to, build out the rest of the skill tree, but I felt that there were other skills that were a little bit more important. And we come down to the Fist of the Elements tree. Here's the main skill that I wanted to do, Illuminated Fist, but in order to get to that, we have to do Infusion. So it converts a portion of damage dealt by Amara's weapons into her action skill element. This is great because when we do that action skill, we're going to be then either meleeing or doing that close range gun damage, which already has a buff, and then 40% of that is being converted into that action skill element. So the next time we use that action skill, whatever element we have chosen is going to do that much more damage. as you can see, 40%. But this is what we really want. Illuminated Fist. Amara gains increased melee damage, and her melee damage is converted to her action skill element. On top of the 100% melee damage that we already have from the Brawl tree, we now have an additional 75%, which is only boosting the amount of damage that we're doing tremendously when it comes to punching things in the face. So again, if you really enjoyed Brick from Borderlands 1, this is going to be your character. Just run around and just punch everything in the face.
I punch him!
Brick, don't. If you just talk to him, we can...
I punch him! Nope. No talking. Just punch it. Win it!
To complement that even further, we come into the Mystical Assault. So this particular build uses all 3 trees, but it has great synergy across the board. Killing an enemy grants Amara a stack of Rush. Activating her action skill consumes all Rush stacks. So let's say you're going in there and you're killing all these enemies and you're getting these Rush stacks. Then you use your action skill in order to consume those Rush stacks. For every stack of Rush consumed, Amara's action skill damage is temporarily increased. When you consume those Rush stacks, you're just, again, buffing that phase slam that we talked about earlier. So this build is all about buffing that action skill damage, buffing your melee damage, buffing your up close gun damage. At the same time, you're buffing your health regen, your health pool, all those other things that you need in order to keep you alive. Now, what pairs nicely with all of this is Restless. Amara gains increased action skill cooldown. 25%, which is huge because that means you're going to be doing more face slams. And as you do more face slams, you're going to be getting more stacks of Samsara. At the same time, as you're doing these more melee attacks, you're going to be doing more damage buffs. Again, it could be 70 up to 75% for that action skill damage if you decide to pair it properly. On top of all the melee damage that you have, this 100% plus the 75% on the other tree, and it's going to be hard for everything else to kill you because your health pool is 40% more, plus the additional 25% that you have here, plus the regen, plus the damage reduction that you're giving yourself after you use your action skill. This particular build, guys, again, it's going to put you in a lot of dangerous situations because anytime you play a melee character or a tank character, you're absorbing a lot of the aggro. You're going to be taking a lot of the fire. However, this build is a combination of keeping you alive as well as doing enough damage to take out all of the enemies before they finish depleting your health bar. And let's say they do deplete your health bar. Great. Guardian Angel brings you back. You have a full health bar to then go and try to work your way toward cleaning up the rest of that mob, that boss, whatever you're fighting. So again, if you are a Leroy Jenkins or you are a Juggernaut or you are a Brick, then this is the character build for you. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and drop a subscription for your boy. Also, don't forget to turn the notifications on so you guys know when I'm dropping the rest of my character build videos for Borderlands 3. You can catch a live stream on Mixer, Twitch, and YouTube. All the links are in the description below, and I'll catch you guys next time.